So I'm going to introduce Kevin to you. I'm going to do it in English so that you can also check. Sean, how are you? Good morning. So they flew almost around the world, or the time they took to get here could have been around the world, but we're really glad to have the Kalbs here. Not the Kalb, the Kalbs. So Sean is he's from the Boy, Indiana in USA. He's known for the high yield competitions that he wins in the US. So similar to the Grow for Gold, probably just a little bit higher yield. But Kevin will tell us about the yield that he gets. Another interesting fact about the farm is in the last 15 years, they also raised 2 million turkeys. So turkey is very important to the US market. So also interesting fact about the Kalb farms. So Kevin is also on a live television show, or a television show, Live to the Farm. So you can probably watch television and also get insights into how farming life happens in the US. Kevin is married to Sean, and they have 3 children, and all of them play a huge part in the farming operation. So very similar to us in South Africa. So I think farmers all around the world, very similar people. When Kevin is not working, you can see him coaching the kids in sports and also watching baseball. So we'll definitely have to teach him some rugby here. But that's what we're watching. So yeah, we're also watching sports. And he also likes hunting. So next time we'll invite him in hunting season, and then we can have a different discussion. Then the last fact that I want to share with you, Kevin likes to have one specific field that he's actually using as his testing field. So whenever he wants to try new products, he tests it for 3 years himself, and then he'll try it if it's really better than what he's using currently. And then the last sentence, and it's not a sentence that I had, it's a sentence that Sean added. So he has tested the Kalb hybrids for many, many years with amazing results. He plants nothing but the Kalb on the Kalb farms. So very good to have you with us. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks for all the effort to get here. So looking forward to your speech. Thank you very much.
Want to say thank you. It has been a very interesting trip. We've been to 6 airports to get here. 7 airports. Once again, the man's wrong, the woman's right. But no, we love it here. This is our 3rd time, South Africa. We love it. People is great. Well, some of them. There's 2 of them that are kind of assholes, but but anyway. Okay. Sorry. But anyway, glad to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about growing corn, how we changed our thinking on growing corn. We're probably known more for high yields, but the proudest thing I am on our farm is our farm average. That's what pays bills. And, we've been in this, I planted 32 crops of myself, 32 years of actual farming by myself. I've learned a lot. Chasing high yields, which we've carried that over to our normal production. And I'm basically just talk about fertility. Some of you guys that have known me, it's a balance of fertility that we use on our farm. It's not throwing a bunch. We call it the moron effect, where you throw more on to try to get more results. It don't work, I promise you. We had a farm strip 2 years ago that was 35 tons, and we're all non-irrigated. There's no irrigation on our farm. But we had a test strip that went, I got to get the correction right, 35 tons per hectare would be of non-irrigated. And we only did that on what we would call 180 kgs of UAN. So that's down to very minimal amount of fertility of nitrogen to make a bushel, what we call a bushel or a metric ton. We found out over the years, the more you throw on, the lower the yields are, especially on the N, P, and K. I'm sorry I don't know liters, very well. Everything we do is, stupid imperial numbers. But thank you. But I will tell you, we have not used an ounce of dry fertilizer on our farm in 32 years. I know that's shocking to some people, but we run like 4 gallons. How many liters is that? 40. So we run 4 gallons of P and K of separate. And I promise you, I can get more fertility, potassium or phosphorus in the plant instead of running 300 kgs of potash or MAP or DAP. It's all about the availability to the plant. When I pull a soil sample, guys, I do not care what my fertility numbers say in P and K, because the old ways of pulling soil samples, unless it starts raining sulfuric acid, the way they do most of the testing, they mean nothing. It takes water. So we have never ever paid any attention to what the availability or what they say the availability is on a traditional soil sample, because it's a lie. I mean, it's 100% lie. If you go off of that, you will not see the same results of what you do when you pull tissue samples. Our farm is 100% tissue samples. We base 100% of our yields, our fertility, year after year of what our tissue samples say. 100%. So when the corn gets up to what we call 300 GDUs, say V3, we start pulling tissue samples. We pull once a week. We send it off to lab. We get the results, we bring it back, and we adjust, which we wide drop, which I think that to me, for us on our farm, makes us so much more efficient, that we don't throw a bunch of fertility out and we're not getting our money out of all the fertility that we're throwing out, that we can spoon feed the crop all the way through the season. Anytime, I will tell you, it don't matter if you're in the USA or if you're in South Africa or Europe. We got guys all over that we talk to the world. Soil is soil. Anytime you throw more than 100 kgs per hectare of nitrogen out at one time, you're losing yield. Your soil biology cannot handle it. We've had data. We've worked with soil scientists for the last 7-8 years. Now, I'm not saying you have to make 40 different trips across it, but I'm here to help you guys become more efficient. Anytime that you run more than 100 kgs with especially nitrogen, nitrogen's the worst, you are screwing up your soil biology and you can't get that back. We can't recuperate that. So that's kind of why we went to split applications of fertility. We don't put more than 60 Ks out. 60 Ks out at a time. No, that wouldn't be right. 60 kgs, 60 pounds. Yeah, I guess that would be 60 kgs per hectare, right? Well, it'd be 60 pounds of all we apply, no more than 60 pounds per acre at a time. So would that be 60 kgs at a 66? So because of the soil biology, I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with the amount of fertility that you throw out. It's all about what's available to the plant. And until we figured that out, our yields were kind of, we were struggling. I say struggling, it was still good corn. We were making 300 bushels per acre. When we started cutting back our inputs and actually running, sticking some of that money into humic acids are going to be your friend, and zinc, boron, and manganese. You can't be putting a milliliter or a liter of that out and expect to have results. We run gallons, which would be, we probably run 25 liters. Would that be right? Yeah, 25 liters per acre, per acre of zinc and boron. It does take a lot of zinc and boron, not a quart or a liter. That, I'm telling you, you're wasting money as far as I'm concerned. You're not doing enough. That is, doing nothing for your plant. The little liters. I mean, you have to think gallons or lots, big amounts for the zinc and the boron, especially boron. Cut back on the NP and K. I had a slideshow. I wish I could have showed that. I could have proved the fertility thing on the dry fertilizer of the higher rates of NP and K. We had 7 years of testing on it that shows broadcasting dry fertilizer, once you get over 150 kgs, your yield actually goes down. So it's just something to think about. The NP and K, everybody wants to talk about NP and K. Even in the U.S., we make too big of a mistake. We over-fertilize with the NP and K. We could cut way back on that and spend a little bit more money on humic acids. We are firm believers in humic acids. We've used them for 15 years. If there's ever a cheat sheet in the farming world on fertility, humic acids are probably going to be the closest cheat sheet that you can have. It helps lower the salt content in your soil. I mean, how many of you guys pull soil samples and pay attention to your sodium level, your salt level in your soil? I mean, we don't, I mean, you can't even see any on our, we go down 24 inches deep and you will not see any sodium in our soil. And sodium is not good. Sodium sterilizes. If it kills stuff out in the field as far as weeds, it'll kill your biology. So that's one thing we've really been working on, lowering our salt loads in our soil to help your biology, because I'm telling you, you could throw all the fertilizer out in the world in that field, and if you don't have the biology, you just create more and more of a problem as far as that plant uptake. And that's when you guys should be pulling tissue samples to see that what you're actually spending your money on is actually getting into the plant. But back to our yields, we've had a strip that made 35 ton. We had a national corn growers yield contest that made 29 ton. And then what I'm the biggest proud about on our farm, we had a farm average this last year of 22 ton, non-irrigated. And if you ever been in my area, we got hills, bluffs, creeks. Our fields are all chopped up. It's pretty tough farming in our territory. So what I'm saying is, if we can do it, anybody should be able to do that. But you have to change your thinking of what we've always been told. It don't work that way anywhere. Anyway, I mean, it used to work that way back in the 60s and 70s, 1960s, 1970s. But we're as farmers are too reliant on the seed corn companies coming out with better hybrids where we're gaining our yields. I mean, I'll tell you, another big jump on our farm was we gave up a bunch of acres so we could actually farm better, take care of the ground. That was 2016. We laid we had a bunch of rent ground we gave up. We tiled every 8 meters. We laid a tile in the field to drain the water off. The next year, 2017, we grew more total bushels with 500 less hectares than what we did with the extra 500 hectares just by management. So there is a lot on the table that a guy could manage better that these hybrids can do. I just said that we had 530. We seen 535 bushel corn, 35 ton. Why are we only making 12 to 13 ton? There's just a lot of things that we can do, not just go in there and plant it and get done with it. There is a lot of management that can. How dry is your corn when it finally black layers?
Yeah.
What kind of moisture? 30? 40? So So I'll just tell you. So normally, what we see in the United States, most farmers in the United States, their corn black layers at 32, 33%. Here's something to think about. You want to grow cheap bushels? Our corn black layer is at 25%. So what that means is we plant DEKALB 6835, which I'm thinking you guys may be getting some of those genetics. I'm hoping for you guys. But I will say this, for every point, so if you're planting 120-day corn, and if your corn black layer is at, say, 32%, and my corn black layer is at 25%, each day that I can prolong that black layer, I gain 4% yield. So think about that. So the only way you're going to do that is keep your corn plant healthy, with good fertility and diseases. If you ever come in our farm, other than this year, we had southern rust. I hope you guys don't ever get southern rust or tar spot. But other than our test plots, guys, our corn is as clean as what you can see. But we do spend a lot of money. We spray normally 3 shots of fungicides, which people think that is expensive. I understand it is expensive. But what did I just say? I gain 4% yield for every day that my corn does not black layer. So if I can extend my black layer for 10 days, I can gain up to 40% on yield. And you can't do that when the plant is dead when it black layers. Our corn is as green can be when we black layer. I already spent all the money on the fertility. The only thing I'm doing is spending another, 1 or 2 more shots of fungicides to help keep the disease off. So yes, we do spend a little bit more money on that, but we look at the back end of it. That's where 99% of the farmers make the mistake. They want to do everything up front and be done. But the back end, when you're at R5, so you think of the growing stages, when you are at R5, how much more corn, how much yield potential do you have yet from R5 to black layer? How much can you influence that corn yet?
Well,
How much yield is made at R5? You still got 45% of yield that you can manipulate. So people, you guys need to start thinking about the back end of your crop to gain bushels. It don't cost that much more to gain that extra, 4, 5, 6 ton per acre just by managing the crop, making sure it's healthy all the way till it's black layer.
is it wallet?
I mean, I wish I had a picture, could show you. Donnie and Johan has been on our farm, looked at some of our corn. Our corn does not dent. So anytime you have kernels that dent, when it starts drying down, you're losing bushels. Our corn don't dent. It stays big, plump. There's no kernels we can be down. We have to sell our corn at 15.5%. Those kernels, you will not find a dent on our corn. That's free bushels. I'm not saying free, but those are bushels that don't cost near what the upfront of your first half of your bushels do. So you just got to think about that, guys, how you can keep that plant alive as long as you can to fill out those kernels and pack as much starches, sugars into that kernel as what you can. I mean, that's how we've changed our whole farm. That's what made us being, I'm not saying we're rich or anything, but we're able to survive this hard economic time in farming because we're able to grow bushels. And it don't cost that much when you start thinking about, it don't take a whole lot of nitrogen. It don't take a whole lot of nitrogen or potassium or phosphorus. It takes other nutrients plus a healthy crop to grow them kind of bushels. I mean, heat, we will be, I can't convert to Celsius. We had 100-degree heat with 85% humidity. Real field was like 117, 118 degrees. He's converting it.
What you?
So our summer times, we get up to 46 Celsius. So we do get hot, humid. I mean, so thick you can't hardly walk. So That is our limiting factor, heat. But a healthy plant, it's like I say with my son, he's 16 years old. I'm 50, about to be 51 years old. I said he can take the heat a lot better because he's a lot better shape than I am. And, in the summer, the hot, no different than the corn plant. The healthier that corn plant is, the easier it can go through that plant or the heat stress. So the mentality, what needs to be, instead of just running through, getting your crop through, you need to change it and think about how you can eliminate stress that you can eliminate. I can't make it rain, but I can prime my soils up, with the low salts, running a lot of humic acids to buy me time, running boron. A lot of boron will help on your pollination, I promise you. You want to extend your pollination by, 7 or 8 days, run a lot of boron. You want to retain kernels, boron and potassium. But you got to find the right sources. KCl is not the right source for potassium, I'm telling you. I mean, it'll make you feel good. You threw out 300 kgs, or whatever however much you run, but it's not available. It's not friendly to the plant. So that's what we've learned by pulling tissue samples, what to use, what money that we're spending actually gets back an ROI on our farm. Here's a question. If you guys are on heavy fertilizer, if you're relying on yield coming from synthetic fertilizers, what is the percentage of the synthetic fertilizer that you buy that gets into the plant? So if you're not running some humic acids or sugars or, working on your biology, what is the percentage of the money that you're spending that actually gets into the plant?
You said,
One guy said 50. If you're on heavy fertilizer, you're less than 30%. So let's just do the math here a little bit. So if you're trying to grow, what's 200 bushel, Donnie? How many tons?
16.
16? Okay, let's say you're trying to grow 16 tons and you're throwing out, 250 pounds of nitrogen or kgs, and you're only getting 30% of it out there. So our ratio would be 1.2 pounds per bushel. I just told you we're growing down to a 0.3 pounds per bushel. I'm not smart, but if you're spending, excuse me, if you're applying over double the amount of fertilizer I am, and you're getting less than half the yield, that don't make sense to me. There is better ways, right? Now, I will tell you this. If you are on heavy fertilizer, commercial fertilizer, don't go out the first year and cut it back, way back. Because it's just like a drug to human. Your soil is addicted to that, okay? But you can each year wean back a little bit more and get your biology, because that's all it is. It's a biology game, I'm telling you. Whoever comes to you and tell you, I don't care who the guy is from the United States, if they tell you to gain yield by throwing a bunch of fertilizer out, they're full of shit. It don't work. I promise you, you are wasting money. You want your soil to do the heavy lifting for you, but you can't just wean back 100% and say, well, Kevin said, we can cut it to half rate. You can't do that at first year. Now, it takes 3 or 4 or 5 years, you can do that, I promise you. We got guys all over the world that's doing that. And gaining yield, that's the big thing. Less inputs, more yield. But, the longer that you're relying on running heavy rates of synthetic fertilizer, the only yield you're going to gain is what the breeders get you. I mean, I hate to say it, just the way it is. We got neighbors that do the same thing. Our farm average, like I said, is, what was that number again? 22. Our county where we live in is about 13 tons. And I guarantee you, per bushel, we are at least a third less than what they are. So we're gaining almost double the bushels, spending less than a third what they are on growing a crop. How much time we got?
Look at all this.
Questions? Any questions yet? Yeah.
You know, you mentioned that you just use that out the biologies, microbiology of the chicken. Used to do that. How does that compare to
The regular farm? Okay. So the question was, last time I was here, we bought a farm that had no manure, which our farm does have a lot of manure. We raised turkeys. How did those yields go? Now, there is a couple things. The guy that was farming it before us planted soybeans. And I Donnie, close your ears. I hate soybeans. But the guy before us planted soybeans like 3 or 4 years in a row, and he didn't fertilize. He just planted a crop and let it grow. Actually, the yields were pretty good. We were within 30 bushel of our farm average for the first year that we picked up that farm. And part of that was he had some low swags in that farm that we have to tile to get the drown outs out. But it was pretty good corn. I mean, the farm average there was like 285, which, like I said, I'm sorry, I don't know the metric conversion there, but it was good corn. But it wasn't as good as what we had been farming. So our standard program on our farm, from our contest acres to our hill acres, which is less yield, our planter pass is the most important pass, and we run the same identical formulation of fertility, zinc, boron, manganese, same ratio on all them from our contest acres to our hill acres. And the reason is, if you don't set that plant up for yield potential at the beginning, it's a lot easier to gain bushels or tons at planting than what it is at the end. So what I'm saying is, if I plant on this hill here and this bottom here, and I don't run the right mixture of nutrients, my potential when my corn's this big can be 100 bushel difference between on running just on fertility up front with the planter. What I'm saying is zinc, boron, manganese, copper, moly. So we have learned we can gain bushels up front, and if we do have bad weather, that's why we split apply with the Y drops. If we have bad weather, guess what? A drought comes in, I don't have all my fertility up front. I could just say, well, a drought come through, we didn't rain for 2 months, the corn died, I only have a third of my fertility up front. Or a flood. We farm some river bottoms that flood pretty easy. Same thing. Part of the reason why we went to split applications, if we do get a flood, we don't have all of our money up in front on fertility. So upfront planting is the most crucial, where you can gain the most bushels by feeding the plant what it needs up front. You're setting it up the way it should be set up. That's how important it is up front.
Okay, but let me get down to the one and switch it out all the way. So I think you'd like to know, how would you increase the biology?
Oh, okay. So how I increase the biology? I'm sorry. So we run humic acids and sugars. And now there is different forms of sugars you can use. To make it the easiest way to tell you how we started out on sugars is to grab a water bottle, a clear plastic water bottle, throw a tablespoon of sugar in it, and set it by the window. And if it grows mold within a week, that's what you want to use. You can use sugar like that. Anything that is cold or a heat processed sugar normally don't work that way, just because they cook most of the good stuff out of it when they make the sugar. So most of the sugar needs to be cold processed or molasses or something like that. That's the best stuff. But that's kind of what we've been doing. That's what we're going to do on that farm. Since we don't have the manure that's going to go on that, we're going to run sugar and humics at every application that we make, we run some sugar and humics with it. Now, knowing that we do that, we're not going to spend any more money. So for every gallon that we spend on humic acids, we pull back that much money on nitrogen. Because I'm telling you guys, nitrogen is not your limiting factor. I'm just telling you. I mean, in the United States, the way farmers are, I've not seen one guy in the United States losing yield because they're not throwing enough nitrogen out. That's easy. I mean, nitrogen's the easiest thing to throw out there. And nitrogen, actually, I would rather see less nitrogen, too little of fertility, than too much. There's more damage by over-fertilizing the crop than by not putting enough out on our farm. Yeah.
You said you applicate 4 gallons of P and a day.
Yeah.
How do you do it? As an info.
Okay. So the question was about our fertility on the P and K. So we run a 2x2x2 system on our planter. So we run it from the furrow, we're over 2 inches and we're down 2 inches. So that's everything. All of my P and K goes down at planting with the planter 2 inches over and 2 inches down from the seed. Liquid. Yeah. And I promise you, if you start pulling tissue samples, you'll see the big difference between that, like what we run the 4 gallon compared to the KCL. I hate KCL. That's about the worst fertilizer you can throw out there. Between that and 1034-0, I don't know which one I don't like the most. They both are shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do farming, it's very certain. It's ice loads. And we did about 20 kilos of brand numbers. The can't base. Now, yeah, what you're saying was that we cannot also.
Okay, so the question was low CCs, high sand, low clay content, what to do? You remember me saying humic acids? Humic acids are definitely going to be your friend. Humic acids, what they do, they help bind your soil molecules together to hold moisture, to hold fertility. So that's 100%. So the lighter your soil is, the more humic acids you want to use. That will make your soil hold fertility a lot better by using humics. Yeah.
Here, he just had yes. Oh, no. Okay. Your borons and stuff, do you put it in furrow? Is it on a foliar application? And wide drops? Okay. Also, your sugars, is it in furrows or is it
Okay.
Okay.
Given how much in general, how much in the season here?
Zinc and boron? Oh, sure. Okay.
You read this. Yeah, Bob.
So the question was, how do we apply our zinc, boron, sugars, and how much? So every pass. So number one, do not put boron in your in furrow. If you want to kill corn, put boron in your in furrow. You will kill corn. So don't do that. Nothing in furrow as far as the boron. But our zinc, boron, manganese, we run on our 2x2. Normally we will run a gallon, which would be 1 pound at planting. And then we come back with the Y drops. We'll run 2 pound on our first Y drop and 2 pound again on our second Y drop. Okay, so basically a kg on each. So we'll run like 5 pounds, which would be like 5 kgs per hectare for you guys. Sugars, the same way. About the same amount, sugars and humics. But like I said, it seems expensive. But when you're cutting, whatever money we spend on that, we have a budget that we want to use. And I'm telling you, the NP and K is where we can cut a lot of our fertility back, our money on that, and gain more yield by the micros and the macros and the sugars and the humics. We've been trying to chase yields for a long time, and I'm telling you, throwing a bunch of NP and K, don't do it. It's 100% wasted money. What else we got?
So can you say your white drop? We have to agree with
Yeah. Yeah.
they said I
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why they
No. I'm not a foliar fan on corn. I'm not saying it don't work. You know, there's guys that has success with foliar feeding, but here's my mentality yet. The good Lord made roots for one reason, to pull up moisture and fertility, and made the leaves for sunlight. Now, it could be because, well, I mean, I'll be honest, I've not ever seen a yield bump foliar feed. Okay? Now, could it be that we're running such a good program through the roots that you know our fertility is good enough that we don't see a yield bump because our nutrient levels are high enough? That I can't answer you. I just know on corn, we do not foliar feed corn. Soybeans is a little different, a little trickier. They're a pain in the ass. I hate soybeans, but corn, yeah, we do not foliar feed any.
yeah.
So yeah, pH is important, in my opinion. So when I go into planting, I try to be at a 7 or a 7.1. And the reason, when we get up to tassel, your pH is going to drop. Okay? There's going to be more acid in your soil. Your roots are extruding sugars and enzymes. So we normally drop about 0.3 or 0.4 on the scale. So we go from 6 or say 7 to 7.1 down to a 6.7 to a 6.8. Well, if you start at a 6 and you lose 3, you know, you lose 0.3 or 0.4, you're down to about a 5.5, 5.6. So like 35% of the fertility that you have out there in your soil is never going to get into that plant. So pH is very, very critical. We try to start out every year at planting at least a 7. Now, I don't want to be a 7.3, 7.4, but if you look at the Mulder's chart as far as nutrient availability, that 6.7 to 6.8 is actually where you have the biggest range of all the nutrients available to your soil. And I will say this, I hate magnesium. I go 100% of what the experts have always said. I love calcium. Our base saturation on our soils, we try to be at least 85% to 90% on calcium. Potassium, I don't care. I do care, but magnesium is the biggest pain in the butt. There is more yield loss to farmers throwing, I don't know what your lime sources are, if it's high cal lime or dolomite lime, but I hate dolomite lime. I hate magnesium. There is way more yield loss because magnesium antagonizes phosphorus and potassium uptake. So what is the nutrients that when you're going through grain fill, what nutrients are low, what makes you tip back or have small kernels or your corn shrinking? You know, when I say our corn don't dent, what are those nutrients? What is that plant deficient on to shrink those kernels? It's phosphorus and potassium. So magnesium is the biggest pain in the butt for nutrients because it's antagonized by everything. So, you know, we on our farm, if you see our tissue samples, we're down here on our magnesium. I mean, it shows we're deficient, whatever, but what it don't tell you is, you look at our our tissue samples on our potassium, we're above 4 the whole season, almost 5 on the potassium, and guess what? We keep those kernels. So magnesium, we want to drive that magnesium down in your soil and in the plant. Yeah.
Just want to know what's a getting method on the fall and another thing for British times. How many things do you get in the season?
Okay. So here's something else guys ain't going to figure. I don't care what my organic matter is. We have seen we can grow higher yields on lighter soils. So our organic matter is between 1 and 3, and our CECs are 12 to 18. But I promise you, our highest yielding ground is the organic matter at 1, and the CECs are at 12, the lower stuff. And it makes sense if you start thinking about it. The higher your soil is on CECs and organic matter, the more it wants to retain the nutrients, right? Well, that's when I said about humic acids, the great thing about humic acids is they bind it, but the plant, it's so much more available from the plant with humic acids than it is actually have to extract it from a clay particle, if that makes sense. So the moral of the story is, guys, you don't have to have organic matter of 5 and 6, 7. Like, you go in the United States, some of the best ground in the world, Illinois, Iowa, they got organic matter of 8, 9%, CECs of 45. We kick the shit out of them every year. Because it's the heavier the dirt is, the more it binds. So you don't have to sit there and think you have to have that high organic matter. In fact, we're working on a study to prove the higher organic matter has zero to do with yield, other than it does help hold moisture. You can hold moisture a little bit more, but go back to the humic acids. We can adjust the moisture holding capacity by using humic acids. So I'm not saying I want beach sand, but what I'm saying is it is a lot easier to manage than actually really heavy soils with high magnesium. Because normally the higher the higher the organic matter and the higher the CECs are, the tighter the soils, the less oxygen you have in it for soil biology. That's what people don't understand. The heavier your dirt is, the tighter it is, and the less biology that you have. And then what was your second part of your question?
The total amount of
So on our farm, across every acre, we average 160 units of nitrogen, which would be 160 kgs per hectare. So our farm average is a half a pound per bushel, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
And then the P&K, we're at 4 gallons. So if you go to actual pounds, we're probably only about 8 pounds of P&K.
sulfur.
Sulfur? So the way we run sulfur is with our planter, our potassium, we run a 4-0-20-12. That will, and we have manure, okay? We do have we get sulfur from manure. But the sulfur the plant don't use but very little sulfur till it gets up to, V12, V14. So then when we come back in with our last Y drop, we'll run like 5 to 10 gallon, depending on what our tissue sample says, of ATS, thiosulfate. So however many pounds that is, probably like 40, 45 pounds of sulfur, all we run. But that's applied late when the plant actually uses it. I mean, we apply zero sulfur. We try to apply zero sulfur up front. That's wasted money in my opinion, because sulfur is so leachable. And knowing when the plant actually uses sulfur, to me, it makes no sense throwing sulfur out up front, my opinion. Okay? Yep.
My question, we want to go from the 30-ton club under irrigation. What would be the start, middle, and finish that you would do, chase that? Because we were discussing it last night. We want to go and take a small pivot to start with and see how we can produce those sort of tons. Because we're struggling to get 15, 16 tons to be irrigated.
So the question was, how do you get up to the 30-ton?
Is it?
So, number one, probably cut back on your fertility. Okay, so back when I first started chasing yields, I heard some other high yield growers, not going to mention any names, but they were throwing obscene amount of fertility out and my yields were going down. So I was like, well, it's not as good as our normal production acres. So we had to change some things, and then we started pulling back on our fertility. So number one, you remember, everything that you do has to do with biology. So whatever you can do to create more soil biology, and we don't cover crop, so I'm not a big cover crop guy that says we have to go out and cover crop weed and rye and all that stuff. But so number one, I would start cutting back on fertility, especially the N, P, and K. Those three, I'm telling you don't have to have a whole lot to grow that kind of bushels. Looks like pioneers in the house. But so number one, I would start cutting back on fertility. Number two, I don't have irrigation, but I look at yields in the United States, and I'm not talking on David Hula's corn because he's in a total different world than everybody else.
Yeah.
Bullshit. But what I'm saying is, there's a I ain't figured out why us non-irrigated guys are able to outproduce the irrigated guys. I think number one, they may irrigate too much. You know, talk about soil biology. We tile. Okay, we lay perforated tile in there to get rid of water. I just think that you know, seeing the corn roll up under stress at certain times is not a bad thing. So, you know, we're talking about maybe getting a pivot just to play with, to understand that. But I think a lot of guys over irrigate because they got irrigation. Well, we don't want the crop to suffer. But here's the thing, doing all these soil biology reports that we do, when our soil is saturated, our biology goes down to less than half what it does when it's dry. So when you're saturated, the problem is your biology dies. You know, if you're saturated for 2 weeks, it's dead. So you have to wait another week to 10 days for, you know, once you finally start drying out. So there's 3.5 weeks that your crop is not growing as far as the fertility going into that plant. So I would think I would back off on water a little bit, especially certain times through the season, because it's all about biology numbers. And I don't know if you guys have a place in South Africa where you can send off soil samples and actually get soil biology numbers, bacteria and fungal numbers. But I would do that, and I would play with that just to see what over irrigating is doing. I just see it on our farm when we're wet for a long period of time. It's not that our crop is lacking nitrogen. You know, when it starts turning yellow, it's lack of oxygen. That's what the problem is. And guys make the mistake. They go out there and say, well, my corn's turning yellow. I got to throw more fertility out there. Well, no, it's not fertility issue. It's 100% lack of oxygen. So I'll run sugar, humics, cut back on fertility slowly, and play with your water a little bit, because, like I said, the guys that I know that have irrigation, good friends, I still can't figure out why we're just whipping the shit out of them year after year. And and they have water, other than they over irrigate. That's my opinion. I don't know. So our average rainfall, now I know it's going to seem like a lot. We normally get 43 inches a year. But the problem is, you know, we're getting ready to go into planting season. We normally get 25 of them in March and April, which we just left right now. We're underwater. We had just got 7 to 10 inches of rain. So most of our water comes right now. So you know, last year we were blessed. We were basically almost irrigated except for August. We didn't get any rain in August, which is still big grain fill time for us. We had 0 rain in August, but we were actually really we were about as perfect as what we could be going into August, so it didn't really affect our yield that much. But I'm telling you that once you start applying humic acids, you know, I know talking to Donnie and Johan, you know, you guys are dry right now, or at least they are. The humics are going to help retain moisture.
And then our question, how much do you rely on your soil? So does it, because what a big lot right in the fresh zip and how much of your moisture you gotta use in this?
The subsoil moisture? Okay. You're going to laugh on this. So I always say this: if I have to rely on my subsoil moisture to grow a crop, I'm screwed, because we're not really deep soils. But there's ways you can manipulate it. You know, the humic acids will help you maintain or hold water 10 times the water capacity what it could before. So now I'm not going to sit there and say that you can throw it out there if you could hold 100 gallons before that you're going to hold 100,000 gallons. But right there, everything we put is stripped, banded right by the row. But when we pull our soil samples, our CECs right in a row, which holds water, the CEC, will be, you know, where we run the humic acid will jump up to 40 to 45. So our water holding capacity because of the humic acids. And when you pull your soil samples, guys, it would be nice to see your bacteria to fungal numbers. And what's important on that, what holds moisture? Is it the bacteria or the fungus? It's the fungus. And I promise you, if you've been running high amounts of dry fertilizer without running a humic acid, you're going to be at about 10,000 bacteria to 1 fungi. So if you start going through drought, I mean, if you can't go 3 weeks without a rain and your crop starts rolling up, you have a biology problem. I mean, we can go a month with 146 Celsius degrees without our crop rolling up, because our bacteria to fungal numbers we're 1 on the bacteria and 3 on the fungi. So we are actually really high on the fungal. So if you want to help maintain moisture in your soil, work on building your fungal numbers up. But I'll promise you, if you are running dry fertilizer, your numbers are ass backwards. Are we done?
And unfortunately, there's guys that want to play golf. Apparently, I don't know why, but they want to play golf. So it's clear we're going to sit here the whole day, and it's interesting. And yeah, thank you very much for the questions. Just one question and a quick answer. What digital tools do you use on your farm to monitor your yields and planting and everything?
Field view.
Field view. Okay. Yeah. That's a good answer. So you can spend the rest of the week with us. It's fine. So thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much for the effort.